Lionhearted conversations, closed stance. Stop, drop and roll model. Stop. Interrupt. Slow down. Pause the conversation as soon as possible following concerning comment. Drop into humility and awareness with curiosity towards one's thoughts, feelings, body senses, and those of the others. Reflect. Not react, and respond. Open to alternate perspectives. Listen with open heart and mind. Let self and others make mistakes. The purpose of this animation is to demonstrate what it is like to remain in a closed stance, which is common given entrenched colonial ideologies. This framework is about lionhearted-centered engagement, which invites brave and authentic conversations regardless of stance and anticipates that shifts in stances can happen over time. Students in a family counseling graduate-level course are meeting synchronously online. They meet once a week. This is the 6th week of the course.
I hope you had a chance to read some of the articles on white fragility. Who would like to start off the conversations?
Reading those articles on white fragility was really upsetting because it feels like racism against white people.
Turning point.
I noticed when you said racism against white people, I was really caught off guard. I don't think racism against white people is a thing.
Calling in. First, courageous.
Brittany, it sounds like you're saying that you're feeling targeted as the problem because you are white. I just don't know what to say.
Second, courageous.
I appreciate people sharing how they genuinely feel. One of the arguments supported through this body of literature is that racism is an ideological system that none of us can escape from because it is embedded within the social, economic, and political systems. White supremacist ideologies position white people, and sometimes white-passing people like me, in positions of privilege, and there are lots of mechanisms built into our day-to-day lives to keep things that way.
You have no right to associate me with white supremacists. I am not a white supremacist.
Denial stance.
The truth is we all hold racial biases. Denying it doesn't make it go away. This is a byproduct of being raised in a colonial system. Racism against white people is a myth because, even in moments when you feel excluded or challenged, your power and privileges are not taken away. You still have more unfair advantages and access to opportunities solely because of the color of your skin.
Why are you attacking me? We clearly have the same access because we are all sitting in the same classroom and fulfilling the same requirements for our degree. I'm not saying we're all exactly the same. I know some had it easier than others, and that race is a huge factor. But I feel like racialized people have more advantages now because we spend so much time talking about their experiences, and so many job postings give preference to diverse hires.
Defense stance. Austin thought.
I used to think this way, but the 2023 debate about the U.S. Supreme Court ruling that reversed affirmative action in student admissions to Harvard and banned it in hiring practices opened my eyes. It's not an unfair advantage to ensure diverse hiring. It's been an unfair advantage that we've had it much easier from the start.
Stanley thought.
Oh my gosh, she really doesn't understand. I've struggled so much to find an apartment for my family in the neighborhood we want. No one will rent to us, even though there are lots of available units.
Brittany. I actually feel like we aren't talking about my experiences as a racialized person, because we get off track talking about how hard it is for white people to see the effects of racism. I wish we could talk about what being racialized means for me, as a family therapist, and for many of my clients.
I am angry. Clearly my perspective is less important. I'm sorry I said anything at all.
Closed stance.
D'Angelo suggests that because whiteness is the social default position, talking about racial issues often pushes white people outside of their comfort zone. Feeling defensive is a common reaction. There might be others in the class who feel like Brittany does. Try to acknowledge whatever may be coming up for you without judgment or resistance. Lionhearted centered engagement is extremely hard, and we've committed to approaching it with cultural humility.
As a white male, I know I have double privilege, but it doesn't make me feel great to be associated with being an oppressor. I used to be really defensive, but the white fragility readings did help me to move further away from perceiving things as a personal attack. I'm trying to take responsibility for my own discomfort with the unearned privileges I have as a result of institutionalization of racism.
Brittany looking angry, and others looking uncomfortable.
Thanks for sharing your unlearning and relearning, Austin. One of the critiques of the white fragility literature is the overfocus on interpersonal dynamics between racialized and non-racialized people, instead of on disruption of the systems that maintain coloniality and racism. As family therapists, however, it is important to attend to both the personal and interpersonal alongside the systemic and structural. So I'm grateful to each of you for being willing to engage in these tough conversations.
Professor Hobart thought.
I think I should close this conversation down for now. Brittany seems like she is still angry. Maybe she and others need a bit of time and space to reflect. I acknowledge that we have not come to a resolution, but this is ongoing work for all of us. I suggest we end the class here and pick up our conversation next week. I invite you each to do whatever you need to take care of yourselves.
Professor Hobart thought.
I'll reach out to Brittany to check in. Hopefully, she's open to continue to process her feelings and perspectives. Perhaps in a one-on-one conversation, Brittany might be able to lean closer to a shame or defense stance that could pave the way for an open stance over time. If she doesn't want to talk with me, I'll connect her with her faculty mentor for further discussions and support. I'm grateful for our conversations about racism and coloniality at the faculty level. Most faculty seem committed to their own process in courageous conversations and to guiding students into deeper self-reflection and acknowledgement of systemic racism from a place of cultural humility. I'm going to consult with our faculty equity, diversity, and inclusivity leader on how to best continue the course conversation next week, with repair and closure in mind.